Okay, so I want to ask you something. When was the last time you were actually bored? Not tired, not distracted, actually bored. Sitting somewhere with nothing to do and nothing pulling at you. If you're struggling to remember, that's kind of the point. And trust me, before you click out, there is a deep purpose to this video that you are going to want to see. I think you were drawn here for a reason. Just listen for a second. Most of us haven't experienced real boredom in years. There's always something, a notification, a podcast, something to scroll. The moment any silence opens up, we feel it immediately without thinking. And that's the biggest part, without thinking. I've talked about this before plenty of times, and I get it. Boredom feels unproductive. And in today's society, it feels like a waste of time, like something that you just have to get past to where you can start doing something productive again. That is the sick nature of the society that we have currently built. But don't worry, thankfully, we are all pushing back on this now. I'm seeing great changes. But here's what the neuroscience is actually showing us about this. That discomfort that you feel when literally nothing is happening, that might be one of the most valuable mental states that you can be in. The problem is, most of us have accidentally taken this out of our lives almost completely. I want to walk you through what's actually happening in your brain when you're bored. Because once you understand the mechanism, the way that you will perceive downtime will change forever. This isn't about just slowing down or doing less for its own sake. This is true, real biology here. It's good stuff. And I think by the end of this, you are going to look at your phone very differently the next time you reach for it. So jumping right in, because I really do respect your time and I really appreciate you taking your time to be here and learn from me. There's a network in your brain that activates when you stop focusing on something external. Researchers call this the default mode network. And for a very long time, neuroscientists thought this was just basically the brain idling. Turns out they were wrong. What we now know is that this network is doing some of the heaviest lifting that your brain does. It's where you process experiences, where you consolidate memories, which is pretty important for all of the things that we're consuming in today's society, where you make sense of the things that happened to you, which is incredibly important for the trauma processing that we have. And it's also where creative ideas actually can form. And this is something that I feel like we're losing so much now. It only really turns on, or at least it's at its best, we think, when you're not actively focusing on a task, when your mind is allowed to finally wonder and explore. Every time you pick up your phone the moment that you feel bored, you shut that network down. You completely interrupt this process. It's fragmented at best. And you pull your brain out of something that was genuinely useful just to give it the cheapest, most worthless dopamine hit that you were going to forget 10 minutes later. So let's talk about what boredom actually is. Boredom gets a very bad reputation, at least these days. But biologically, it's very important. When you feel that restless, slightly uncomfortable feeling that nothing is happening, your brain is telling you that it has capacity available. What I think has happened in this hijacking of our mental bandwidth is we see boredom as a problem to solve. But I think that's the wrong picture of it. I think we should see boredom as an opportunity and a recovery mechanism. The research on this is genuinely interesting. Studies looking at creativity and problem solving have found that people who are allowed to be bored before a task consistently outperform people who were kept mentally occupied. Not slightly, but significantly. The bored brain comes to the task with more original thinking, more flexible problem solving, more capacity to connect ideas across different domains. Simply put, the bored brain comes to the task better. There's a reason that some of the best thinking people have ever done happens in the shower or on a walk or staring out a window. These are not accidents. This is the default mode network doing exactly what it was built to do when it's finally left long enough to do its job. So if boredom is useful, what is constant stimulation doing? A few things, and none of them are good. The first is dopamine dysregulation. Every notification, every scroll, every quick video hit that delivers the most worthless small drip of dopamine is terrible. Over time, your brain recalibrates around that level of stimulation, and then ordinary life starts to feel flat, uneventful, unstimulating, very hard to engage with, and you're not present. I'm sure this is relating. The work that actually matters to you, oftentimes, not always, this is not black and white, feels harder to start. Oftentimes again. Sometimes it's harder to stay in, at least for now. Conversations feel less interesting in your current state. Your own thoughts feel less interesting because they're not as good as the perfectly curated feeds that we have. Your baseline keeps getting higher and higher and higher for what you need, and the real stuff that life is made out of feels worthless and meaningless. The second thing is what researchers call attention fragmentation. Your brain gets trained to expect input every few seconds. And this is not even talking about the drastic emotional swings that come with it, but that's a different video. But the problem is when the input stops, it generates discomfort. That discomfort pushes you back towards the phone, back towards the stimulation, and the cycle reinforces itself. It's almost as if that was intentionally engineered. That they have a focus problem and go chasing 1,000 diagnoses. What oftentimes people have is an overstimulation problem. Their focus wasn't innately broken. I actually see this a lot in clinic. They just trained their focus away. And I want to be really clear about something before we keep going. I'm not telling you to delete all your apps and live like a monk. That's not realistic, and it's really not the point of this. My phone's right here. It is on focus mode, though. What I do want to give you, though, is the practical side of this and help you understand what boredom actually does. Because once you understand this, you can start to question what you're doing, and you can learn to deliberately use your technology. And that's really important. And this video isn't about this, and this really isn't what I intend to talk about, but I mentioned that my phone's on focus mode, but also my social media apps are bricked is what I call them. It's just an app I use. It's an NFC tag device that magnetizes to my fridge or sits somewhere hidden. I just tap it and it locks down the apps that I want it to lock down. And it's really helpful. There's not a subscription. You physically can't unlock them until you unbrick it. I've used it for a long time now. I don't know them. I've never talked to the people there. I don't know who they are, but I really like the product and it works. You just usually override your app blockers and stuff on the phone. So this is a great option for you. Trust me. I went ahead and got an affiliate link with them so I can get you guys a discount to them. I think that's usually helpful when I recommend something that I genuinely use. I'll link that in the description below. I'll also link a non-affiliate link to their website. Again, this channel is successful because it doesn't have to be. But anyways, let's move on. Your dopamine system is adaptive. It recalibrates based on what you expose it to. This is the same mechanism behind why tolerance builds with almost anything. This could be hard things like the gym and things like that. Your system adjusts to the new normal, and when the stimulation is constant and very high, a new normal keeps shifting upwards, hence the problem. The reset happens through deliberate deprivation. Starve your system of that input, okay? Not permanent deprivation. I literally was looking at house inspiration on Instagram the other day. It's fine. I did okay. Just be deliberate about this. Give yourself periods where you let the system come back down. You'll find that you'll want to engage in the content much less. That will come with time though, not immediately. This is why people who do phone-free mornings often report that food tastes better, music sounds better, conversations feel more engaging, their own thinking feels clearer. These aren't placebo effects, and they seem random, they seem weird, but this is your system recalibrating, and this is your baseline moving back down to presence, to the moment where it belongs. Even shorter windows matter. 20 minutes of genuine mental quiet, a walk without audio, sitting somewhere without pulling your phone out. That'll be really hard for you, but I'd be proud if you did it. The brain responds very quickly to this if you just give it the chance. So it wouldn't be a Dr. Matt Jones video if we didn't have practicality. That's what we do here. We make health simple. So here's what this looks like. The first thing you need to do is protect your mornings. You do this because the first inputs of your day set the tone for your day and your brain's stimulation baseline. If the first thing you do is roll over and scroll, you have already started this recalibration in the wrong direction. It's not the right move. Give yourself at least 30 minutes before any screen. Sit with your coffee. Let your mind do what it does. If you're uncomfortable with your mind doing what it does, that is great information. And that information is telling you you should continue to sit with it. You have something to work through. The second thing is building what I call boredom windows into your day, okay? But they're really not boring. They're actually just normal things. Deliberate gaps, okay? Do your commute to work without a podcast. Do lunch without anything playing or watching a YouTube video, even this one. A walk that is actually a walk, nothing else. These can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you've been running on constant input, but that is exactly what your body needs. You also may have noticed this trend on social media recently, but there's a lot of people who are staring at a wall for 20 minutes straight, like a blank wall, nothing on it. And they're saying it's absolutely changing their life. Try that. I don't think you'll be able to do it. If you do, please come back here and comment and prove me wrong. But it's apparently pretty profound. So similar concepts here. The third thing is noticing the reach, the automatic and unconscious grab that you have for your phone at any moment a gap of boredom appears. Like literally, like when you go to the bathroom, you don't need your phone. That reflex is something worth noting, and it's definitely something worth working on. You don't have to immediately fix this, but just start noticing it and then start to think about what triggered this. Knowing that can help you work on this problem. To bring this to a close, boredom is not the enemy of a productive mind, despite what so many productivity experts have told you. I'm sorry, but it's just true. For most people right now, it might be exactly what your productive mind needs. The research keeps pointing in the same direction. The people doing the most interesting thinking, solving the hardest problems, producing the most original work, they're not the ones consuming the most. They're the ones who've protected their capacity to think by leaving the space for it. If there's one quote that you can take from this, your brain is not broken. It is just drastically overfed right now. And it is waiting for the chance to show you what it can actually do. If you want more of this, if you want to dive deeper than I can in a quick YouTube video, the full framework for how I rebuilt my own cognitive baseline, everything from how I structure my days to what I've actually found that works as someone who has been through this, someone who went from tutoring 7 days a week to someone with a medical degree, 2 master's degree, one of which I got simultaneously during my medical degree, living the life that he loves, a thriving social media career, wonderful relationships, happy, okay, and productive. Then I wrote all of this in my book. I spent 3 years getting this on paper for you. I wanted to make it perfect. It is the step-by-step guide on how I rebuilt my brain and body to thrive and how you can too. Much like my YouTube content, it is practical, it is actionable, and it's written like a knowledgeable friend who's giving you advice. Check it out. I will drop a link in the top description. It's in all formats. I think you'll like it. And if you want the free 30-day blueprint that I put together, because I want to meet people with where they're at, that's also in the top of the description. No cost, just the frameworks, okay? If you found value in this video, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Really, really hit that. It will notify you when I post another video like this. I post another life-changing video like this once a week, sometimes twice a week. You don't want to miss it. And if you benefited from this, share this video with a friend or loved one. It's free, and it is the least that you can do to help them. And as always, I'm Dr. Matt Jones. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.